Revealed: How a Canceled Birthday Changed My Life, an Incredible Journey to Becoming My Own Boss. Emily stood behind the counter of the quaint little diner in her small suburban town, eyes gleaming with dreams that soared far too high for the walls around her. As the orders flew in and laughter bubbled around her, an undercurrent of frustration churned in her chest. Turning 30 in mere days, the weight of expectations from her tight-knit family pressed down, threatening to crush her ambitions. Would the small-town life as a waitress always be her narrative? Her 30th birthday bash was meant to be a declaration, a vibrant celebration with friends and family to showcase her entrepreneurial dreams. She envisioned a night filled with laughter, jazz music playing softly, and her vision of a farmer's market realized in the heart of their community. It was an escape, she thought, from the traditions that shackle her family. But when the storm hit, it was as if a dark cloud descended over her hopes. Rain pounded, winds howled, and her dreams, along with the entire diner, felt as though they'd been swept away. The storm forced evacuations, leaving her community in ruins, the businesses shuttered, and her birthday party fizzled into a muted whisper. Emily's heart sank as she canceled the event she had painstakingly planned. Standing there, staring out at the flooded street, she questioned everything she had envisioned. Was she wrong to dream so big while the world seemed determined to keep her small? Days turned into a spiral of sorrow, yet amid the debris of her disappointment, she met Mr. Thompson, her elderly neighbor. A retired veteran with silver hair and a knowing smile, he had seen hardships that would silence most. He looked at her, really looked at her, and said, "Don't let this storm define you, Emily. The winds may knock you down, but it's your spirit that can rebuild this community." His words ignited a flicker of determination in her heart. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. So Emily rallied her neighbors, inspired by Mr. Thompson's resilience. They began to organize community events, an open mic night showcasing local talents, a farmer's market filled with fresh produce, and workshops that taught practical skills. An incredible transformation unfolded before her eyes. As laughter and chatter returned to the streets, she felt the creeping joy mingle with a familiar tension. Her family, however, struggled to accept this path.
When Emily excitedly shared her plans, her mother frowned, worry etched on her face. "Emily, your safety and security matter. This isn't the life we hoped for you." Those words stung like a bee, cutting into her heart. The tension escalated, as dreams collided with the traditional security her family held dear. But every success, every smile from the neighbors fueled her perseverance. Emily poured herself into every detail, standing at the precipice of victory and confrontation. She found strength in her community, and yet felt the ever-present tug of familial expectations. The storm had transformed her town, yes, but it also deepened the unresolved rift with her family, one that threatened to swallow her whole. As she rose amid the rebuilding, tragedy struck once more, leaving Emily at another crossroads. What would she choose? Would she hold on to the flickering light of her dreams, or would the weight of expectations drown her spirit? The storm may be gone, but the real battle was just beginning. Emily stood in front of the community center, the framed posters for the upcoming open mic night clutched tightly in her hands. Each name she'd written felt like a promise, a commitment to the dreams that had sprouted amidst the chaos. Yet anxiety twisted in her stomach, the weight of her family's doubts lingering like clouds overhead. She could hear her mother's voice again, that mix of fear and disappointment. Was this really the path she wanted to take? As the sun dipped low, casting a warm glow on the neighborhood, she took a deep breath and steadied herself. The laughter of kids playing in the park drifted through the air, pulling her focus. This was her community. They were counting on her to bring life back to the streets, to help them heal together. Just then, a cheerful wave from Mrs. Patterson, her elderly neighbor, brought a smile to her face. The elders had come out in support, their existence proving the importance of community ties, especially now when everything felt so fragile. Emily exhaled, casting aside her doubts like autumn leaves. The open mic night was more than just an event. It was a signal that they were moving forward, reclaiming their shared space. She imagined the laughter, the music filling the air, and how it would feel to stand on stage and share her own story, her own voice. Yes, her heart raced, but for the first time, it didn't feel like fear, it felt like exhilaration. The day arrived, the community center buzzing with anticipation. Strings of colorful lights illuminated the room, creating an inviting atmosphere. Tables filled with homemade snacks lined the walls, and the scent of fresh coffee wafted in. Emily welcomed the first performers, her heart swelling as familiar faces took to the stage. Laughter and applause followed each act, the energy infectious. Yet, in the back of her mind, her family's skepticism simmered. Would they really understand?
As she collected herself to take the stage last, she caught sight of her parents entering, uncertainty etched on their faces. A wave of panic rushed through her, but she pushed it down. This was her chance, not just for herself, but to bridge that gap with her family. Taking the mic, she introduced herself, her voice breaking slightly as she spoke. "I've been feeling lost, like I didn't belong. But this community, this resilience, it's what's keeping me grounded." The audience nodded, their faces showing encouragement. And then she poured it all out, her dreams, her fears, the storm, and how every moment had led her here. The applause that followed wasn't just for her words. It resonated with hope, an affirmation that they were in this together. But as she descended from the stage, her parents approached. The look in their eyes made her heart race. "We need to talk," her mother began, the anxiety now palpable. They looked proud, yet her mother's brow held a deep wrinkle of concern. The moment felt pivotal, charged with unspoken words. Emily braced herself, knowing she was on the brink of a revelation that could change everything. "I want you to see this side of me," she said quietly. "I want to show you that this is what I'm meant to do." Her father's expression softened, and the tension pulsed like a live wire, thick with possibility. Just as they began to respond, another voice rang out, interrupting with urgency. "Emily, you need to see this." Curiosity and dread gripped her. What could that possibly mean? Was there more trouble on the way? The community was unified, but would that bond withstand the next storm approaching? Would her parents finally understand? Emily turned toward the voice, her heart clenching at the rush of urgency that wrapped around her. The crowd's chatter fell silent, turning as one toward the newcomer. Standing at the entrance was Jake, the neighborhood's unofficial news reporter, his face flushed and eyes wide with disbelief. "What's going on?" Emily asked, fear settling in. Jake's breath came in quick bursts, and it was clear the news he carried was something more significant than she could imagine. "They're saying there's been vandalism at the park, the community garden," he gasped, barely able to catch his breath. It's bad, Emily. We need everyone there, now." A deafening silence enveloped the community center as the weight of his words sunk in. The garden was a labor of love for the neighborhood, a symbol of unity and hope, especially after everything they had been through. It was their place of healing, where families came together, shared stories, and celebrated. The thought of it being damaged sent a wave of dread through her, but she felt a fire ignite within her, too. Her parents' expressions flickered with concern, and Emily turned to them, her voice steady and focused amid the chaos. "I'll go. We need to help." With that, she didn't wait for them to respond. She rushed towards Jake in the exit, heart pounding. Once outside, the dusky air brushed against her cheeks. The convoy of neighbors flowing towards the park was a sight she had hoped never to see. As they arrived, her heart sank. The garden was a mess, the plants trampled, and the once vibrant flowers lay scattered like broken dreams. Anger surged through her, but it was mixed with a determination that boiled just beneath the surface. "Everyone, let's organize. We can fix this," she shouted, voice echoing with authority. The community paused, eyes drawn to her, waiting for direction in the midst of the devastation. She rallied the crowd, dividing them into groups, brainstorming what they could do to move forward. Pitchforks and shovels emerged from homes, carrying with them the spirit of togetherness. Someone had to push them not to retreat into despair. Wouldn't their community spirit be the balm they needed? While the chatter of voices filled the air, Emily felt her parents step closer, still trying to process the chaos before them. "Emily," her mother began, but she brushed her aside, consumed by the project before her. A volunteer handed her a shovel. It felt heavy in her hands, yet strangely empowering. As she dug into the earth, the warmth of the soil soothed her. Each handful she scooped away seemed to lift the weight she had carried in her heart. What had started as an evening filled with doubt transformed into a collective surge of strength and compassion. Hours passed, and as the sun began to dip below the horizon, they had cleared the damaged plants.
A few colorful remnants still stood defiantly against the night. There was a sense of triumph in the air, stitched together by shared effort and perseverance. Emily caught a glimpse of her parents in the gathering crowd, noting their smiles. Could they be proud? Did they see how important this was to her? Just as she let out a deep breath of relief, Jake shouted from the back, "Look, we have a surprise!" Heads turned towards him, an air of curiosity wafting through the gathering. Emily's heart raced again. What could be happening now? Was it a new wave of trouble, or was there something else brewing? As the crowd murmured in anticipation, she sensed that this might be another turning point. Would it bring her closer to the acceptance she yearned for, or shift the ground beneath her once more? Jake stepped forward, excitement bubbling in his voice. "You all remember the fundraiser we had last month, right? The one for the garden? Well, the donations came in, and I just heard from the organizers that they have a special delivery for us tonight." A buzz of excitement filled the air as people shifted their weight, leaning in to hear more. Emily's heart fluttered. Could it be? Had their community stood so fiercely together that they would see something good emerge from the wreckage? Jake continued, his eyes sparkling.
The donations covered not just the repairs for the garden, but also tools, seeds, and enough materials to transform this space into something even more beautiful. They're on their way here right now. We're going to rebuild. The crowd erupted in cheers, laughter slicing through the tension that had clung to them all evening.
Would it last? What if it was only a fleeting rescue before more trouble lurked around the corner? As Jake began to organize the group to prepare for the delivery, Emily took a moment to glance around. Neighbors were hugging, high-fiving, celebrating together under the twilight sky. Her parents spotted her and made their way through the mass of happy faces. They enveloped her in a warm embrace. "Our girl, leading everyone like this," her mother said, pride evident in her voice. "She's a natural," her dad added, ruffling her hair, a wide grin on his face. Emily beamed, but the challenge still loomed large in her mind. Rebuilding the garden was just the beginning. What else could they do to wade through the dark waters that attacked their community? The sound of approaching vehicles pulled her from her thoughts. A truck rolled in, the bed overflowing with brightly colored boxes and bags. Nearby families gathered, eyes wide with excitement, moving toward the treasures that could soon refill their beloved garden. Jake waved the truck drivers over, his voice cutting through the delighted shouts. "All right, teamwork, let's get everything unloaded." Emily jumped in, her hands working eagerly alongside others. Laughter and stories floated through the air, each person determined to restore what had been lost. It felt like a rebirth, like the earth was healing, and so were they. Just when they thought they couldn't be happier, a little boy shouted, "Look, there are seedlings in here!" The crowd turned, every eye trained on the boxes as they were pulled open one by one, revealing the vibrant greens waiting to take root in the soil once more. Emily knelt down beside the boy. "Let's make sure these grow strong and healthy. Together, we can make this garden bloom brighter than ever." She felt a warmth bloom inside her. It was not just about the plants. It was about resilience, the ability to stand together against anything that tried to break them. She realized that this wasn't just a garden. It was a testament to their spirit. While they worked, Emily's mind began to race. What if the vandalism was an attack on more than just the plants? What if it signaled something deeper within their community that they needed to address? As darkness fell, the lights from the truck illuminated the enthusiastic faces around her. And then, in a sudden hush, she felt it. A collective pulse, a heartbeat of hope and fear.
Just as she opened her mouth to speak once more, a distant shout ripped through the night, chilling her to the bone. "Look out! Someone's coming!" Emily's stomach dropped, and her grip tightened around the seedling she held. The atmosphere shifted, the joy of the moment evaporating like mist. Panic raced through her veins. What now? What new threat loomed ahead? The crowd froze, laughter dying on their lips as fear rushed in to fill the silence. Emily's heart pounded in her chest, each beat matching the rising panic around her. Shadows loomed at the edge of the garden. A tall figure stepped forward, silhouetted against the soft glow of the truck's lights. "Who is it?" someone whispered. People began to exchange anxious glances, their previously joyful expressions now twisted with confusion and concern. Jake took a step forward, his bravado unwavering. "Hey, is everything okay?" he called out, his voice steady, but Emily caught the slight tremor. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a young man with disheveled hair and clothes that looked as if they had seen better days. His eyes darted around, taking in the scene of camaraderie and hope. "Wait," he shouted, holding up his hands. "I'm not here to cause trouble." A sigh of relief mingled with skeptical murmurs. Emily didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the seeds of doubt had been planted in her mind. "Who are you?" she called out, her voice firmer than she felt. "My name's Ben," he said, his brows furrowing with concern. "I heard about the garden. I'm a former volunteer here, and I was looking for a way to help." "I don't understand," Emily responded, squinting through the dim light. "After what happened, why would you want to come back?" Ben inhaled deeply, as if gathering courage. "Because I know what it feels like to lose something precious. I helped plant those flowers, and I saw what it meant to everyone. I thought my past left me, but it didn't. I want to make it right." The weight of his words settled into the air, and a hush fell over them. Behind her, Emily sensed the gathering of curious faces, unsure but intrigued. She could feel the tension shifting. Was Ben genuine, or was this just another layer to the mystery of their recent troubles? "Why would anyone want to vandalize the garden?" he continued, waving his hands in frustration, as if brushing away a nagging thought. "This place is meant to unite us, not divide us. I want to help rebuild." Emily began to feel something shift within her. "Okay, so if you want to help, then what do you suggest we do?" That question hung between them, and Ben seized it. "We need to understand the why. We can't just cover the damage. We need to dig deeper. Maybe we could involve everyone, even those who oppose the garden." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Some voiced skepticism, others nodding along. Emily felt a spark ignite in her chest. "What if we create an open forum?" she proposed, her confidence building.
An event where everyone can share what this garden means to them, both supporters and critics. We can bring the community together and turn this darkness into light. Jake stepped up beside her, encouragement radiating from his presence. "Great idea! We can plan it right here. Make it part of the rebuilding effort." Hope started to bloom among the gathered crowd, and for a moment they felt united once more. Healing was possible, even amid fear. But as they began to brainstorm ideas, Emily caught Ben's eye. Was he as sincere as he seemed? And what mysteries did he still hold? As the group buzzed with energy, Emily's heart swelled. They were on the cusp of something transformative, but a nagging question lingered. Would reaching out truly untangle the web of hostility that had threatened to tear them apart? From the shadows, another figure watched them, unseen yet undeniably present, a shadow that seemed to echo Emily's unspoken doubts. What else lay beneath the surface in this growing chasm of uncertainty? As the plan for the open forum began to take shape, the atmosphere shifted from uncertainty to tentative hope. Emily could feel the energy coursing through the crowd like a live wire. They began to hash out details, and the uncertainty dissipated, replaced by a shared purpose. But doubt still gnawed at her. She glanced over at Ben. He stood amidst the gathering, his expression a mix of eagerness and apprehension. Was his desire to help authentic, or was there something buried beneath that messy hair and worn clothes, something he wasn't willing to share? "Do you really think this is enough?" she asked Jake, pulling him aside for a moment. "What if this doesn't fix anything? What if it just reminds everyone of what they lost?" Jake looked at her, his expression serious. "Trust me, Em, this is a step. It's about opening a dialogue. People need to be heard, even if it's tough." While Jake offered his unwavering support, the knots in Emily's stomach tightened. She wanted to believe it could heal the wounds of their community, but the shadow from the edges of the garden loomed in her mind, a reminder that not everyone was in support of their dream. As they finalized plans for the forum, she noticed the way Ben interacted with others. He moved through the crowd, introducing himself, listening intently. Each nod and genuine smile drew people closer. Some still hesitated. She could sense their wariness, the remnants of fear that weighed heavy in the air. "Maybe we could also invite the critics," someone suggested. "Get both sides together to talk about what the garden means." Ben's enthusiasm was infectious. "Exactly," he agreed. "This could help bridge that gap. We need to come together to restore what was lost." But Emily noticed a flicker of doubt cross his face. As they gathered to set a date for the forum, Ben took Emily aside. "I really want to help," he said, urgency in his voice. Her heart raced. Open about what? Ben hesitated, the words hanging heavy in his throat. "I used to volunteer, yes, but there's more. I was part of the problem." Her stomach twisted. "What do you mean?" He looked down at his hands, a frown knitting his brow. "The vandalism. It was connected to me. I got involved with a group that believed the garden was a mistake. I never participated directly, but I didn't stop it either." Emily stepped back, emotion crashing into her like a tidal wave. "You?" The betrayal stung like a slap. "Why would you come back now?" "I was lost," he said, desperation in his eyes. "I mean it, Emily. I come back because I've changed. I struggled after I saw the impact, what it did to this community. I want to heal. I want to atone." Her heart pulsed. How could she trust him? Yet his sincerity pulled at something deep inside her. "You want to help? Then you need to share this with the group. They deserve to know." Ben swallowed hard, and she saw the conflict raging behind his eyes. What if they turn against me? What if I'm just digging the wounds deeper? Emily had no answers, but felt a surge of solidarity with him. Then we face it, together. As the sun began to dip low in the sky, the shadows around them lengthened. Hope flickered uncertainly against doubt. And from that unseen corner of the garden, the hidden figure shifted slightly, the sharp outline of a smile on their lips. What were they waiting for? What more could they reveal? The days leading up to the open forum felt like a blur. Posters adorned every lamppost, urging the community to come together. Emily watched as Ben shared his story with the other members. The way his voice cracked with vulnerability made her heart ache. A mix of fear and hope hung thick in the air. On the morning of the event, Emily woke up early, her mind racing. She brewed a strong cup of coffee, the rich aroma filling the small kitchen of her apartment. She sat at the table, staring out at the garden. It had become a symbol of resilience, both for her and for the community. Later, as the crowd gathered, she saw familiar faces. Some were curious, while others were skeptical. Emily felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She glanced for Ben, but didn't see him. The absence of his presence turned the anticipation into a weight that bore down on her. Jake approached her, a reassuring smile on his face. "Are you ready?" Emily nodded, forcing a smile. "I just hope people understand." The event started slowly, the chatter echoing off the garden walls like a distant memory. Emily took to the makeshift stage, her heart racing. She needed to convey not just the hope in the air, but also the pain they had endured. "Thank you all for being here," she began, her voice steady yet trembling with emotion. "This community has faced so much, but we are here to listen and heal together." As she spoke, she saw familiar faces nodding along.
She caught sight of a woman who used to bring her children to the garden, now holding a faded photograph of a simpler time. It ignited a spark in Emily. When we open the forum, we invite not just the voices of those who love this garden, but also those who may have felt differently. Only then can we truly begin to bridge the gap between us. Just as she finished, Ben emerged from the crowd, his face tense. Emily felt her heart skip a beat. He looked both vulnerable and brave, like he was ready to confront a storm. As he walked to the stage, she could see people's expressions shift. Some leaned forward, while others stepped back, a mixture of curiosity and skepticism filling the air. "I want to talk," he said, taking the microphone with a trembling hand. "I owe it to each of you and to this garden." The sharp intake of breath from the crowd was palpable. There was silence for a moment, and then Ben spoke, his voice cracking through the tension. "I was one of those who didn't see the value. I didn't want to understand. I stood by and let destruction happen. I was lost, and I hurt the community I once called home." His raw confession laid bare the scars beneath his calloused exterior. Emily found herself gripping the edge of the stage, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. Would they accept him? The question loomed like a dark cloud at the edge of her thoughts. "I didn't come here today expecting forgiveness," he continued, "but I hope that by sharing my truth, we can begin to mend the fragments left behind. Because in my heart, I truly believe that this garden is worth fighting for." Gasps spread throughout the crowd. Some faces softened, while others looked hardened, unwilling to forgive so easily. Emily held her breath, watching the interplay of emotions ripple through the audience. Then a small voice rose from the back. "What do we do now, then?" That one question echoed loudly in the garden. The crowd stirred, and Emily knew they had to address this uncertainty, to allow the healing to begin. "Let's find that answer together," she said. "Let's talk." Just as the discussion began to unfold, Emily's phone buzzed in her pocket. She glanced down and saw a name that made her stomach drop. It was her mother, and right then she knew the call could change everything. What would her mother say? What new hurdles would they face? Emily's heart raced as she felt the weight of her mother's name glowing on her screen. She hesitated, a storm of emotion swirling inside her. This was not the time. The forum was just beginning, and the air was thick with doubt and hope, the kind of mix that could fuel a wildfire of change. Despite the buzz of the crowd, the anxiety in her chest demanded attention. She answered the call, stepping away from the group, stealing a moment's solace behind the stage.
Emily, her mother's voice crackled through the phone. It trembled slightly, mirroring Emily's own unease. I need to talk to you about your father.
There's been some news. Everything froze. The world around her dimmed. She pressed the phone tighter against her ear, swallowing hard. What is it? Is he okay? Her mother paused. He's been in a serious accident. They're saying he may not make it. The words cut through her like the sharpest knife, splitting her focus. Everything she believed about her past, every confrontation she'd avoided, loomed over her like a fog. She felt streetlights flickering into darkness around her. Mom, I can't. This isn't a good time, she finally managed, her voice shaking. I'm at the garden. There are people here who need me. He needs you too, Emily. Don't you understand? This matters. A mix of panic and desperation rang in her mother's voice. You need to come home, right now. Emily's stomach twisted painfully. She had finally found her footing in this community, finally learned to connect with these people. Just as she was learning to speak up, to fight for something greater than herself, the universe seemed to pull the rug right out from under her. Sensing the distance between them, her mother softened. I know how far you've come, but family is important. We need to gather. I need you here. The crowd around her swelled with fervor, Ben's voice now booming as he addressed concerns and questions. His passion seeped into her heart, mingling with the fear pooling in her gut. Torn between two worlds, she fought tears, feeling hopelessly stretched. Mom, But before she could finish, Ben's words shattered the struggle. If we don't confront the past, how can we hope for a better future? It was a rally cry that pulled at her soul. She remembered the faces in the crowd, their eagerness but also their uncertainty. They needed her too. Can't it wait? We can figure this out later, she replied, desperation edging her tone. Later might be too late. The finality in her mother's voice sent ripples of guilt crashing over her. But right then, Emily could feel the ground beneath her shift. She wanted to scream that she was not ready to face her father, the man who had created so many of her scars. And yet, wasn't this moment in the garden one of healing, heart in two places? She turned back to her community. The crowd was still alive with voices, excitement brimming. Let's hear from everyone, Ben encouraged, looking her way with a knowing nod. With trembling resolve, Emily took a step toward the stage. She could feel her spirit igniting, knowing she could rise to this challenge. She didn't have to have all the answers right now. Maybe all she needed was to be present in this moment. What would she say? What could she do to honor both her past and her future? The weight of that question hung heavy as she opened her mouth to speak.
But before she could, a familiar figure pushed through the crowd. Her heart sank. It was her brother, eyes frantic, carrying news that could shatter everything she was building. Emily, I need to talk to you. It's urgent. What could be waiting on the other side of this growing storm? The urgency in her brother's voice cut through the noise of the crowd, instantly freezing the frantic rhythm of Emily's heart. She took a step back, instinctively shielding herself from whatever news he had to deliver. What is it, Jake? What's going on? His breath came in quick bursts, and he looked around as if the very air held secrets. It's Dad. He's in a coma. They say he's stable for now, but... The words trailed off, weighed down by everything left unspoken. Emily's stomach flipped. Coma. Such a harsh word, so final. Everything she had struggled to put behind her surged back, memories wrapped in layers of pain. She had fought so hard to move forward, but now it felt like she was being pulled back into a world she had tried to escape. Jake, I can't process this right now. There are people counting on me. She gestured vaguely toward the garden, where voices clamored for attention, and hope was brewing in the hearts around her. Emily, he said, his voice rising above the din, this isn't just about you. It's about family. It's about what he needs. His eyes were wide, filled with a mixture of fear and resolve. He stepped closer, urgency tightening his shoulders. We both know he's not easy to deal with, but what if he wakes up? You need to be there when he does. The depth of his plea knocked the breath from her lungs. She felt buried under an avalanche of what-ifs, and it made her ache. All at once, the delicate balance she had cobbled together began to fracture. Could she really walk away now?
What if this was her last chance to confront her father, to face the man meant to influence who she would become? As she glanced back at the crowd, still alive with energy and purpose, Emily's heart raced with conflict. They needed her voice, but was she strong enough to stand beside her brother, to face their father together after all these years? "I can't just leave them," she whispered, the doubts lingering like shadows. Jake softened, putting a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You can come back, Emily. They'll still be here. This is about him, about healing. Not just for him, but for you too." His words struck a chord, igniting sparks of memories she had long buried. The laughter, the fights, the love mixed with hurt. Could she really confront all those tangled emotions? Ben's voice called out again, urging dialogue and participation, but it seemed to fade into the background. Emily felt her gaze hardened, determination mingling with fear. She suddenly realized that, despite her doubts, she wanted to find closure. She needed to face what she had been running from. I need a moment," she said, turning back to her brother, her voice barely above a whisper.
"Let me gather myself." "Take your time," he replied gently. "I'll be right here." As she stepped away, Emily could feel the adrenaline flowing through her. She had fought hard to carve a space for herself in this community, a space she wasn't ready to leave behind completely. But the pull of family and the unfinished business with her father loomed like a dark cloud overhead. She closed her eyes, breathing deeply, wrestling with the whirlwind inside. The moment of truth was approaching, and it felt pivotal, both for her family and for her own heart. When her eyes opened again, it was with a newfound sense of clarity. Maybe she could intertwine these two worlds. "I'll go, but then I'll come back stronger," she thought, steeling her resolve. With purposeful strides, she rejoined Jake, her mind made up, but her heart still a battleground of emotions. "Let's go," she said, ready to face whatever lay ahead. As they walked toward the parking lot, the sound of her community faded behind them, but not without leaving a mark. Would she be able to return and reclaim her place, or would the journey pull her in even deeper? With every step, the question lingered in the air, begging for answers. What awaited her in the heart of her family? Emily's heart raced as she and Jake drove through the familiar streets, each corner echoing with fragments of her past. Memories crashed against her mind like towering waves, laughter at family dinners, the warmth of hugs, and the undercurrents of tension that often accompanied them. The thought of her father's accident cast a long shadow over everything she had built in her community, everything she was fighting for. "Do you think he'll be ready to talk?" Jake broke the silence, stealing a glance at her. The uncertainty in his voice mirrored her own. "I hope so," Emily replied softly, her fingers tracing the fabric of her jeans. "But I know it won't be easy." As they arrived at the hospital, a deep breath filled with anxiety and determination coursed through her. The sterile smell of antiseptics filled the air, and the sterile hallways felt alien yet achingly familiar. Memories of visiting her father during tough times seized her heart. Would this visit unravel her progress, or would it be the very thing that enveloped them in healing? Entering the room, Emily's gaze fell on her father, lying still, tubes running like sinewy vines around him. His face, once brimming with strength, now seemed frail and worn. Time had painted lines across his forehead, capturing years of disappointment mingled with love. She stepped closer, battling the swell of emotions welling up inside her. "Emma?" Her mother looked up, eyes red-rimmed and weary. Her gaze flickered with both relief and apprehension. "I didn't know if you'd make it." "I'm here," Emily said, her voice barely above a whisper. "What happened?" "He collapsed during work," her mother said, brushing away a tear. "They say he may wake up at any moment, but—" Her words trailed off, heavy with unspoken hurt. Emily took a deep breath and approached her father's bedside. A rush of memories flooded her mind, all the moments they shared, funny stories by the fire, but also the times he had shut her down. Anger surged through her, but she smothered it deep inside. Whatever had come between them, she reminded herself, could be sewn back together. "You need to wake up," she said, her voice about to crack. "I don't want to live in a world filled with unspoken words with you. If you're still in there—" Tears brimmed in her eyes as she grasped his hand, warm but unresponsive. "I love you, Dad. I need you to know that." Suddenly, a flicker of movement through her gaze, as Jake watched uncertainly from the doorway. Their mother stepped to his side, both glued to the scene as Emily poured out her heart. She didn't care if she sounded foolish. "I fought so hard to find my place, to prove that I can be more than just what you envisioned. But I still need you, even after everything." The silence thickened,
pregnant with possibilities. Moments stretched endlessly, the stillness enveloping her, until finally a quiver ran through her father's fingers. "Emily?" The voice was faint, but unmistakable. Her heart leaped. "Dad!" She tightened her grip as his eyelids fluttered. Pain and fear morphed into a glimmer of hope as she leaned closer. "Sorry, honey. I'm not—" His voice struggled, yet it echoed with earnestness. "What have you been up to?" "I've been rebuilding, Dad. Our community. Everything started to change after the storm. I think I'm finally finding my path." His gaze suddenly sharpened as clarity slipped in through the fog of his medications. "You're doing what?" "I'm bringing people together," she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I want to show them what we can accomplish together, what I can accomplish, just like I wish you'd have supported me before." The tears that rolled from his eyes mirrored the pain in her heart. "I never meant to hold you back, Em. I'm sorry." The vulnerability in his voice broke through her defenses. "Can we start anew?" The question floated lightly between them, yet it was grounded, tethered with years of unexpressed love. "Of course, sweetheart," he replied, a shaky breath escaping his lips. "I want to be there for you. I want to try." Behind them, Emily could feel her mother's hand brushing against Jake's, an unspoken acknowledgement that they too were ready for healing. Families could be messy, and yet, at that moment, Emily realized the threads binding them were more resilient than she had ever known. Just as they shared a moment of connection, a nurse entered, breaking through the melancholy air. "It's good to see some familiar faces. We need to keep this bond strong," she remarked, smiling gently. "But it's important to maintain quiet. Let them rest for now."
Emily nodded, allowing the warmth of her father's hand to fill her heart. As the nurse made her rounds, Emily leaned down close to her father's ear. "We'll start rebuilding. Together." As the minutes turned into hours and conversation danced surreptitiously around the room, Emily felt a quiet strength ignite within her. A transformation was blossoming, not just for her, but for them all. The garden, the open forum, her community, they awaited her return. Eventually, they made their way back outside, where the buzz of the garden enveloped her like a welcoming embrace. Lights twinkled and laughter echoed. It felt alive. The energy pulsing around her was infectious. "Just wait until you see it," Jake said, grinning widely. "All that hard work? It paid off." She could barely contain her excitement. "I can't wait to lead everyone toward this healing, even more now than before. There is so much potential." Her heart danced, a surge of hope leading the way. And as they walked toward the garden, she understood that every storm could create an opportunity for new growth. "Let's get back to it," Emily said decisively, determination in her voice. Together, Jake's affirmation rang true, and right then, she realized the path she walked was just as vital as the one ahead. As they stepped into the garden, Emily took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of possibility and renewal. Each moment they had spent nurturing their bond, tearing down walls, had paved the way toward a brighter future. With overflowing love and hope, she resolved to share her truth, the lessons learned from devastation, the strength of community, and the immense power in embracing vulnerability. This was the moment to unite, to help their garden flourish in ways that extended far beyond the soil beneath their feet. As laughter melded with joy around her, Emily felt the heart of their community beating stronger than ever. And as the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden hue across the newly tended garden, she whispered an unshakable promise to herself. "We will carry this light forward, together." Now listen up, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you even more. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed that algorithm and keep the inspiration flowing. And comment below your reactions and feelings about this incredible transformation. But don't stop there. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the love and inspiration. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.